Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members in the chamber. Close doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Warner will introduce the chaplain of the day. Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. It's an honor to have Brother Larry Rojo Chapman from Chapel Hill here with us. If I may, it's men like this right here standing behind me that what makes small town Tennessee. He is a solid rock in our community, and I'm grateful to have him down here. Brother Chapman graduated from Forest High School in 1966. He served our country for 3 years in the U.S. Army, 13 months in Vietnam. He graduated from Covington Theological Seminary with a Bachelor of Ministry. He's been a minister since 1987 at Holt's Corner Baptist Church. Been at the same church for 31 years. He's a law enforcement chaplain since 2005, a member of the International Corporation of Police Chaplain, chaplain for the Chapel Hill Police Department, chaplain for the Marshall County Sheriff's Department, chaplain for the Tennessee Highway Patrol District 7, volunteer chaplain for the Tennessee Law Enforcement Academy, chaplain for the Tennessee Baptist Disaster Relief, chaplain for the Forest Rockets High School football team, president of the Chapel Hill Lions Club for 3 terms, married 47 years to his wife, Mary Elaine Chapman, 1 daughter and 4 grandchildren. His hobbies are the truck and tractor pull that we put on in Chapel Hill every year, helping our young people out, and he works with the Fellowship of Young Christian Athletes for 25 years. So it's my honor to introduce to you Mr. Larry Rojo Chapman.
Thank you, Representative Todd, and I appreciate you. And Mr. Speaker, all the men and women, state of Tennessee, the representatives, we thank you for letting us be here today, and it is an honor. And as I was sharing with somebody outside a while ago, it's the first time I've got to be back here since the 4th grade. So a lot of things have changed in Nashville since then, but that's been a long ways back. Let's pray. Father God, we come to you this morning. We thank you. We thank you for this great state that we live in. Father, we ask that you would be with the men and women that represent each one of our districts, Father, that they come together to make the laws and do the things that they do. And I know sometimes they're happy about some things they're not. And Father, it's hard to please everybody. But Father, as long as we're pleasing you, that's all that matters. And Father, we ask that you would be with all the people across our state that's been through the tornadoes, the hurricanes, all the floods that's been up here recently, the fires that we're having over in East Tennessee, Father, and the many things that we've got that's going on. And Father, we just pray that you would be with these folks today as whatever's on their agenda, Father, that you would just be with them and have each one to make the right decisions with a clear conscience, Father. And we thank you once again for the work that they do, that so many people never tell them thanks for what they do. So just be with us. Watch over us and forgive us. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Representative Warner will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 94 members present.
Next order, Ms. Clerk.
Welcoming, honoring, and announcements.
Welcome, honor, and announcements.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized. In the well. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can you have the Sergeant at Arms invite our guests into the chamber?
Mr. Sergeant at Arms, please escort the guests to the well. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to recognize Principal Thornton of Cordova High School. If you'll stand and wave your hand, please. Y'all, please give him a round of applause. One of our best educators in our state. And also, Mr. Speaker, due to the lack of time, I do want to recognize our Cordova High School choir and the choir director, Mr. Adrian Macklin, who was awarded the 2025 Grammy Music Educator of the Year. If you'll come by. And Mr. Speaker, due to time restraints, I do want to present Mr. Macklin with this House resolution, and I won't ask the clerk to read it, but it recognizes Mr. Macklin for his great accomplishments, and this is a history-making young man for our state to win the Grammy Music Educator of the Year, and we'll present this to Mr. Macklin. And if you will, after they finish, Mr. Speaker, do you mind coming and take a picture with us before they escort them back out? Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Mr. Macklin. Thank you.
You're recognized.
And Mr. Speaker, if you'll just recognize Mr. Macklin for just a couple remarks.
Good morning, everyone. As a Tennessean, as a Memphian, I am proud to represent us on a national stage, international stage, and not only that, but to represent music education as a whole. Thank you for the support that you do for public schools, because if it wasn't for music education and me being a public school recipient, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, and I wouldn't be able to instill in the students that I have. So thank you for the support that you give to our public school education. And I am, again, proud to be the 2025 Grammy Music Educator Award recipient. Thank you.
And
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I would like to present to our members, to the speaker, to those that are watching, the Cordova High School Choir.
most refreshing. Let some drops now fall on me. Heave on me, Lord. Heave on me. And even me. Heave on me. Heave on me. Yes, heave on me. Let some drops now fall on me. Let some drops now heave on me, Lord, and even me, heave on me, and even me. Heave on me, yes, heave on me. Let some drops now fall on me. Let some drops. 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 Let some drops now
Representative Parkinson. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members. I was thinking about the movie Sister Act 2, right, with Lauryn Hill and the choir thing and the whole thing. Y'all are absolutely amazing. Mr. Speaker, Speaker Sexton, and Speaker number 2, if you wanna come down and take a picture with us, Principal Barton and parents, if y'all want to come over, I greatly appreciate it. Members, I truly appreciate you listening intently. But I also want to say that this is what's good about Memphis and Shelby County schools and about our students. And it's not always what it seems in the news, what it looks like in the news. So thank you, bless you. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And we'll take a picture real quick.
We are under welcoming, honor, and announcements. Anyone seeking recognition? Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, please help me welcome a group of students from New Life Academy in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They're right up here to my left. Thank you.
Representative Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to introduce the best leadership class from Tipton County, right up here to my left. Thank you all for being here. Please stand up and wave. We're happy to have you here. Love y'all.
Representative Hemmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If all goes according to plan, Monday we will have a special bill on the calendar. We'll be making Nashville hot chicken a official state food of Tennessee. In honor of that, we're going to have a little reception at the Legislative Lounge at 1:30. We'll have some Prince's. We'll have some Hattie B's hot chicken. We'll have the founders of those two companies here and maybe a few special guests. So I hope everyone joins us and enjoys this. And we had unfortunately had a warning from the General Services. They said after the hot slaw day, the plumbing hasn't been the same here. So please be careful. Thank you.
Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I have the joy to have a Paige here with me, a 10th grader from my alma mater, Rossview High School, and her name is Brooklyn Moore, and her family's over here at the top, waving over there. And if you could give them a hand today, thank you very much.
Representative Keesling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we want to welcome Leah West and as a Page, Leah and Lily Williams. They're traveling together from the great 38th from Scott County. Leah is a sophomore at Scott High, while Lillian is she's in the 8th grade at Huntsville Middle School. But also with them are their parents, Patricia, of course, and Stephen West, and as well as Robbie Williams. So, members, would you please give them a great big house welcome? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, please join me in wishing my son happy birthday. His birthday was Monday. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You. Did I miss anyone? Representative Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned last week the TDOT help truck drivers that help us get here on time, that were in the ditch the other day, cleaning out the ditch during the flood. Finally got their names. I want to thank Wayne Epley, Todd Stepp, James Rains, Shane Jackson, Terry Peebles, Todd Frey, Frank Moore, Stoney Kleckman, Brandon Hall, Mackenzie Bathrop, George White, Jason Moore, and Jason Law, Brian Dillon, Jason Kelso, Josh Voss. Y'all give it up for our TDOT help truck drivers.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind all the members that your 2025 statement of interest is due next Tuesday, April 15th. Make sure to file this with the Tennessee Ethics Commission. Next Tuesday, make sure you get it in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else seeking recognition? Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule number 17 and placed with the consent calendar referred to the appropriate standing committee.
The objection so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing in line of the desk be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
With objection so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of bills, Senate bills on first consideration.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that Senate bills 136, 351, 419, 533, 602, 621, 626, 655, 674, 750, and 799 transmitted by the Senate be held on the desk pending third consideration of the companion House bills.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second consideration, petitions, memorials, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chair Lady Moody, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Chair Lady moves passage of the consent calendar. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, any objections have been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on the consent calendar. All those in favor, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare consent calendar passed. Without objection, motion to reconsider is tabled. The next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Call first bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1141 by Chairman Boyd relative to Health Facilities Commission. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chairman Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 882.
Chairman Boyd moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 882. Probably second. Without objection, so ordered. Chairman Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 882 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Boyd moves passage of Senate Bill 882 on third and final consideration. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1, Mr. Speaker, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Senate Bill 882 deals with Tennessee's Health Facility Commission, and it would require them to do the nursing home recertifications no more than 15 months apart. It would also instruct the Health Facilities Commission to seek a procedural flexibility, which is essentially a block grant waiver from CMS that would allow them to more effectively and efficiently survey facilities. It includes some reporting requirements on the progress of the block grant waiver, and it names 3 assisted living groups that would provide the governor with a list of qualified candidates. That's the Tennessee Center for Assisted Living, Leading Age, and Argenum. Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Boyd renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 882, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Hardaway on. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 91, 3 nays.
Senate Bill 882, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1376 by Leader Lambert.
Leader Lambert, at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll 5 spaces on today's calendar.
Without objection, roll 5 spaces. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 533 by Chair Lady Rudder relative to productive health care. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chair Lady Rudder, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 449.
Chair Lady Rudder moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 449, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Chair Lady Rudder, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 449 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Rudder moves passage of Senate Bill 449 on third and final consideration, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to roll this to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Call up next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 2 by Representative Balso. Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Balso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is an amendment to HB 533. The question is, why does the bill need to be amended? The bill needs to be amended because it creates a statutory right in anyone to create and destroy human embryos without qualification, limitation, or restriction. Why is that a problem? That's a problem, number one, because it does not treat a human embryo as a person or as a child, which our law does in many places. Our law actually defines a human embryo as a person in 3 separate parts of our code. If you look at TCA 39-13-107, you will see that this body has defined a human embryo as a person. If you look at 39-13-214, you will see the same thing. When you look at our wrongful death statute, 20-5-106, it defines person as an unborn child at any stage of gestation in utero. Those are 3 separate places in our code where we define a human embryo as a person. And we also, in our code, define an unborn child as a child from fertilization through birth. You'll see that in section 63-6-1102. That code section defines unborn child as an individual from fertilization through birth. And it's actually stated most beautifully in 39-15-213, where this body defined unborn child to be a child from fertilization through birth. And those definitions are scientifically accurate because we know that at fertilization, we bring into existence a new human being. We have all 46 chromosomes, the entire genetic makeup of a human person. Eye color is determined, hair color is determined. Every genetic trait that a person later develops is there from the moment of fertilization, also known as conception, forward, which is why we outlaw abortion even at the embryonic stage. Because if you were to concede that you could kill an embryo, then you have given up any scientific argument to outlawing abortion at any further portion of a pregnancy. Because from fertilization forward, you have the same kind of being. You have the exact same person at fertilization as you do at 2 weeks, 2 months, or 6 months. So we, in our law, very clearly define an embryo to be a person, to be an unborn child. Now let's look at this bill. Look at the conflict it creates, because we already in code, on the one hand, say that an embryo is a person, it's an unborn child, yet this bill creates a statutory right to create and destroy human embryos without limitation of any kind, just wantonly. Those two things do not go together, members. That's why I have brought this amendment, which does 3 things. First, it reaffirms that our policy in this state is that an embryo is a child. It is an unborn child. It is a person. That's consistent with the history of our legislation on this point. Second, it points out that there's nothing in our law that prohibits fertility treatment, because that's a true statement. We have no laws on the books that prohibit any type of artificial reproductive technology. And I applaud my good friend Chair Lady Rudder for bringing attention to this issue. This is an issue where we do need regulation. We need to have a law, a system of laws that reconciles how, on the one hand, we can recognize an embryo as a person, yet also provide that there are artificial reproductive technologies that can be used in our state. And then finally, what the bill does is it adds to the definition of contraceptive the term that it can't be an abortion-inducing drug. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move adoption of amendment number 2 to this bill.
That's a proper motion, properly seconded. Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have great respect for my colleague in the bar, my colleague here on the floor, for Chairman Bulzo. But I rise today and I can't support the assertion that he has made today, and I want to tell you why. In the short time I have, several issues with this, but in 5 minutes I must concentrate on a couple. And the first one is this. My middle daughter, Ardella Catherine Garrett, wouldn't have been born without assistance from the fertilization world. She wouldn't graduate high school this year. She wouldn't go into college this fall at UT without this type of assistance with folks that are having fertility issues. It's extremely important that we have this available for our families. We have great doctors. We have a great industry that provides assistance for those that can't have babies on their own and just need a little bit of assistance to be able to do that. My wife, whom I admire for what she does, she's been a nurse in the fertility world for over 20 years. I get to hear the stories that she has of great success of families that have had babies that otherwise can't. I've also heard the stories of those that haven't been successful. And I can tell you without reservation that the successful ones outweigh the ones that are not. And so this bill, the second reason why I oppose this is that this isn't an amendment, Mr. Speaker, to a current bill that's on the floor that's already traveled through the system, that's received no votes up until this point. This isn't an amendment on a bill. This is a standalone bill in of itself that is worthy of the discussion that you bring up in your amendment, that is worthy for us to have that debate. But we can't, in this floor, in this General Assembly, circumvent the process of how we debate, encourage people, fight for issues through our committee system. And while you all may be on one side or the other as it relates to IVF, as it relates to families being able to get a little bit of help to have the babies that they deserve, that debate needs to be fully committed, fully vetted through our committee system. Even though I could talk for the next 10 minutes on the virtues of what IVF does, the debate is a good one to have, but it's not a good one to have at the 11th hour, Mr. Speaker. So with that information, with that hope that we can continue to have a world where folks can get assistance in the fertility world, this amendment, members, would destroy that capability. My Ella would not be here if this law was done when she was born. I couldn't do it. My wife couldn't do it. We couldn't have that assistance. I don't believe we can have that conversation when a bill is already where it is on the floor. And I implore this body, let's have that debate. But let's have that debate, Mr. Speaker, through our committee system that has worked very well since the founding of Tennessee. So with that, I move this amendment to the table, and I hope you will support the same.
It's a proper motion, probably seconded. The primary situation is Representative Bolzo has moved adoption amendment number 2. Representative Garrett has moved that motion to the table. That cuts off all debate except for that of the sponsor. Representative Bolzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my good friend, Representative Garrett, for those remarks. In the 2 minutes I have, members, let me say two things. One, this is not outside the committee system. We sit this morning as a committee of the whole. This bill obviously came through the Health Committee, and it's not a committee that I'm on, so I had no opportunity to make this amendment. Secondly, there's some suggestion that there's an inconsistency between having laws that recognize a human embryo as a child, as a person, on the one hand, and having laws that allow artificial reproductive technologies like in vitro fertilization on the other hand. It simply is not true. And let me give you a perfect example. Let me use the state of Louisiana as an example. In their code, 40 years ago in 1986, they adopted an entire series of laws dealing with in vitro fertilization and human embryos. Their law recognizes a human embryo as a person. They use the term juridical person. They have a law that outlaws the intentional destruction of any viable human embryo, which is a very good law. Yet they have a robust artificial reproductive technologies system and practice throughout the entire state of Louisiana, and they've had for 40 years. The problem is not with IVF or artificial reproductive technologies, members. The problem is with this bill. It's extreme. It creates a statutory right for anyone to create and destroy human embryos without any limitation. That is the problem. The problem is not the concept. The problem is not IVF. This bill needs more work. The problem is the bill. This amendment will correct it. It will continue IVF to be allowed in Tennessee. Therefore, I urge you to vote against.
The Department of Situation, Representative Bolso has moved adoption of amendment number 2. Representative Garrett has moved that motion to the table. We're voting on the tabling motion. All those in favor of tabling, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 65, 31 nays, 2 present, not voting.
The ayes have it. The motion to table amendment number 2 passes. Call up next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 3 by Chairman Spicky. Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Spicky, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, in having conversations with Leader Lambert, this amendment that I have is covered in more detail by Leader Lambert. So at this time, Mr. Speaker, I wish to withdraw.
Withdraw, is that right? Without objection, amendment number 3 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 4 by Leader Lambert. Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Leader Lambert moves adoption of amendment number 4, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Siddiqui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the sponsor of this amendment could give us a brief detail of what this amendment does, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Yes, this amendment basically freezes this in time. We are referencing the federal code and the federal definition of this in this particular bill. We don't do that a lot in our code, but when we do, what we don't want is for there to be some sort of a movement in that over time. This freezes it as of July 1st, 2025. So, and specifically, it's whether specifically intended to prevent pregnancy or for other health needs, and that is legally marketed under the Federal Food, Drug, Cosmetic Act as of July 1st, 2025. So it would freeze it with that definition so that if Congress somehow miraculously finally passed a bill on this subject or virtually any other, that it wouldn't change.
Chairman speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I believe the leader is speaking about if the federal government changes the definition of what a contraceptive is, then your amendment would make sure that that would be null and void. It would make sure that whatever is defined after your date would be in Tennessee code. Is that correct?
Leader Lambert.
That is correct. It would take us coming back and changing that in some way in our code because we are freezing this as of their definition within that U.S. code as of July 1st, 2025. So anything after that, we would be frozen in time with that definition unless we chose down the road to do otherwise.
All right. Any further discussion? Representative Reeves.
Thank you. I just want to confirm whether this is a friendly or an unfriendly amendment to the sponsor of the bill.
Leader Lambert.
I mean, I always try to be friendly.
Representative Rudder.
It's a friendly amendment.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we will be on the board. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 4, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 82, 16 nays.
Amendment number 4 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to the heel of the amendments. House Health Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chair Lady Rudder, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill enacts the Fertility Treatment and Contraceptive Protection Act, which provides that individuals has a right to engage in activities associated with fertility treatment and contraceptives, and healthcare providers have the right to provide such treatments. It does not mandate coverage nor impact regulations. I stand ready for questions.
Chair Rudder, you renew your motion.
Renew my motion.
Thank you. All right. Representative Barrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Sponsor, I just have a question on the definition that's identified in A2 under Section 2 of the amendment. The definition of contraception means an action taken to prevent pregnancy, including the use of emergency contraceptives, fertility awareness-based methods, and sterilization procedures. Can you define what emergency contraceptives are?
Chair Rudder.
Yes, sir, that would be Plan B.
Representative Barrett.
So that does include the morning after pill.
Chair Rudder.
It does.
Representative Barrett.
So just so that we are all aware then of what we're voting on, that if we vote for this, then we are creating a right to use of the morning after pill.
Chair Rudder.
Repeat your objection. What's your question?
Representative Barrett.
Perhaps it's more of a statement than a question, Madam Sponsor, but as you've confirmed that the emergency contraceptives that's in the definition of this bill includes the morning after pill, we are creating, if we pass this bill, a right to use of the morning after pill.
Chair Rudder.
We already are able to use the morning after pill.
Representative Barrett.
It changed.
Representative Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But by codifying this bill, we are limiting and making it difficult for this body to go back later and address that specific issue. I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I agree with a lot of what Representative Bolso brought up to the table. This is a worthy topic for us to have discussion about, but I do think there's some things that we're getting close to touching that third rail, and for that reason, I'm just not going to be able to support it today, but I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
Chair Rudder.
Thank you.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor. You and I have had and Representative Helton Haynes, I had a lot of discussion regarding IVF this year. And of course, appreciate your communication with me on a bill that failed in committee earlier this year. But I want to make, just to clarify what the intent of your bill is, because we have had a bad actor in the IVF space in this state, and the Attorney General is involved. And I think part of the challenges going forward surrounding IVF is the need to have licensure and an understanding of a minimum standard, even if it's the CDC standard as it relates to IVF, as well as a regulation and licensure of cryogenic storage facilities for frozen embryos, so that in the event something were to happen like happened in Nashville over the summer, that the Department of Health can act and not the Attorney General's office to save these embryos and protect the patients who relied upon their physician. So do you believe, and I believe it's your intent, but I wanted to clarify for the record, do you believe that this bill would in any way impugn this body or anybody thereafter the ability to regulate or license any IVF or ART clinic in the state of Tennessee?
Chair Rudder.
I do not.
Representative Williams.
Thank you.
Representative Spicky.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the sponsor, in the state of Tennessee, do we have in vitro fertilization right now that's totally legal? Is that correct?
Chair Rudder.
You do.
Representative Spicky.
if we have in vitro fertilization right now for our parents in Tennessee to be able to take advantage of, your bill as amended, excluding the part that the leader addressed, can you tell us exactly what you're doing differently than what is already allowed for people who are allowed to use in vitro fertilization now?
Chairlady Rudder.
All this bill seeks to do is codify into law that women will have access to IVF and contraceptives in Tennessee.
Representative Spicky.
So women already have the ability to do this. The General Assembly, for what I know, has been very silent on it, on prohibiting that. And all your bill does is just put that in the code that establishes it as a right. Is that correct?
Chairlady Rudder.
That's correct.
Representative Spicky.
Thank you.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question has been called. There's objection. Will be on the board. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 51, 47 nays.
Previous question fails. Representative Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this has already been stated, and I think the answer from the sponsor confirms that this bill is absolutely unnecessary. Fertility clinics in Tennessee are not facing legal challenges to their operations. This bill is a solution in search of a problem with serious negative consequences. Tennessee is a pro-life leader when it comes to having laws on the books that prohibit discriminatory abortions. And yet the language in this bill would make genetic testing, which is used to weed out embryos that might have some disability, it makes that a right. This is at odds with Tennessee's pro-life principles, and this bill would make future regulation in this regard very difficult, if not impossible. I cannot support this bill. It is simply a solution, a problem in search of a solution, and it is not something we should be behind in this body. With the stand we've already taken many, many times in this chamber to stand for life, members, I implore you to stand for life once again and vote against this bill.
Chairlady Rudder.
And members, I implore you to understand that we have the right to IVF and contraceptives in the state of Tennessee. But I think as you listen to some of the discussions on this House floor this morning, maybe you can understand why this is a very important bill to codify into law the rights of women to continue to be able to access IVF and contraceptives. This bill has nothing to do with what has been discussed on this floor this morning, other than to codify into law that the women in the state of Tennessee will continue to have the right to access IVF and contraceptives. I renew my motion.
Thank you. Representative Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, and again to the Speaker, because I believe according to our rules, that's who we're supposed to address our comments to. This legislation made its way through the Health Committee virtually with discussion, with work. But as it has traveled, I've become more and more concerned, not at the sponsor's intent, because I believe that it is coming from a good place, but at what the words are that are on the page and what it ultimately means long-term to the great state of Tennessee. I received notification just a little while ago. I don't know how I ended up on the mailing list from a group that supports this legislation. Members in this body need to understand, and there'll be some that are totally okay with it, but you are voting with the ACLU if you vote in favor of this legislation. It is as simple to understand, even though it is difficult legislation to understand, because the concepts are important, but they are broad. It's important to understand who supports something, who is against something. And the bottom line is that today you cast your vote not with a friend, not with a colleague, but with an organization that stands against life. An organization that stands against our very principles of who we are as a state and who we have demonstrated as who we are in this body. And so I implore you not to look at the sponsor, not to look at me. Look at who supports this bill. Look at who's against it. If you can stand with them, do what you got to do. I'm voting no, even though I voted for it in committee to see it advance. Because it is an important topic. It is worth discussing. It is worth working on amendments, but it must stop here. Let's work on it over the summer. Let's get something that this body can get behind. Let's get something that the ACLU has a problem with. And let's come back next year and let's get it right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairlady Rudder.
As I stand here in the body, looking at all of you, as a woman in Tennessee that has no association with the ACLU or whatever the representative brought up as a tactic to implore you not to vote for women to have access to IVF and contraceptives. That's all this is about. I have nothing else to offer you except that. I stand with women in this state and with families in this state that want the ability to have these precious babies that they may not have an opportunity to have otherwise. It is important to families to have access to IVF and to contraceptives. I know nothing else to say to you. Yes, I'm your friend, but I don't stand here as your friend. I stand here as a woman that believes that this is important to our families in Tennessee. We already have the right to IVF. I'm just asking for you to codify into law that women will continue to have access to IVF and contraceptives. That's what this bill is about. And I'm asking you to please support this bill. And I renew my motion.
Representative Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very quickly, it's not about an association with an organization, as I would not expect or anticipate that you would have that. It is the fact that the organization is very much in support of your legislation and generally speaking is antithetical to anything conservative, anything pro-life, anything that cares about little babies and the life thereof. So that's not the thing. And furthermore, the dichotomy to say that we are not in support of women is a misnomer. The bottom line is being pro-life is being pro-woman. The bottom line is that we stand in support of women and we do not need this legislation for IVF to continue in the state of Tennessee.
Chairlady Rudder, you're recognized.
I will point out that there are a lot of organizations across Tennessee that do support this. The Tennessee Medical Association supports this. There are a lot of groups that do support it. Some of them we may not agree with. But the people that have implored me to carry this legislation are families and women all across Tennessee. And I think because of the conversation we're having on the floor this morning, it is an important conversation. But I think you can see where this is going. We don't allow elective abortions in Tennessee. We are pro-life. Yes, we are conservatives. But to me, this is a bill about life. It brings life into the world. It gives families the right to access IVF. It gives families the opportunity to plan their families through contraceptives. That's all this bill does. I renew my motion.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just wanted to make a clarifying statement as it was discussed a little bit earlier about Plan B. That is an emergency contraceptive, and I just want people to know that that prevents a woman from ovulating so she does not get pregnant. So it's not seen as an abortifacient, it's an emergency contraceptive. And I just want to make sure that people are aware that, and I said this in committee, I think last year, Vanderbilt University has a law school and they hand this out at their school. So if it was an abortifacient, which would be illegal, they wouldn't be handing it out. And I'd also like the members to realize that that drug as well is used when a woman's a victim of rape. So they have this, that women would get this in the hospitals as well. So it's an emergency contraceptive to prevent them from getting pregnant. So I just want to make that clear for the record.
Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the greatest respect and love for my two colleagues standing up there, but I do agree with the debate this morning that this bill is not necessary. Right now, women have the right, just based on the Constitution of the United States, to walk into any store that offers contraceptives or to call any clinic that offers IVF and receive that service. And perhaps what they're trying to prevent is some sort of law in the future to prevent IVF or contraceptive. But you cannot bind the hands of a future General Assembly. And it is entirely possible that a future General Assembly, someone might propose that. But we're not. We're not. We have not proposed banning any of those things, IVF or contraceptives, and women today are free to do that, and nobody has proposed doing that. That's why this bill isn't necessary. But another thing that I fear is by saying in law, when the state says in law, you have a right to something, does someone then walk into a merchant store and say, oh, you're offering all of these other products for feminine needs, but you're not offering any sort of contraceptives? I'm going to sue you, big chain store, and get other people to join me because you don't have those things here. Now, I agree most of them do, but what if? By putting this law, are we giving people the right to sue a retailer? But another thing, by putting it in law saying that women have the right to IVF and contraceptives, which they already have now, but by putting it in law, are we then saying the taxpayers have to pay for those products and services for women? Down the road, maybe not today, but down the road, could that argument be made, that point be made, and then the taxpayers are paying for those things? That is a great concern to me. I do feel it's a slippery slope. I am happy that women have the right to IVF and their reproductive health products that they choose to buy. That is wonderful. But it may be a slippery slope to pass this bill. And as I said, you cannot bind the hands of a future General Assembly. Of course, someone might propose that, but I think this body has enough common sense not to ban services such as IVF or contraceptives. I think this body, I trust this body today and in the future has enough common sense not to do that. Thank you.
Chairlady Rudder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will point out that our president, Donald Trump, is very in favor of IVF, and that he wants insurance companies to pay for IVF. That, of course, is not what this bill is about. But we also know that any law that we pass up here can be changed at any point in time. Today, what is before us, once again, is just giving women access to IVF and contraceptives, which today, you're right, they can go anywhere and get free contraceptives. But it is important for us to recognize that in today's society, anything can happen as we move through the process, and women could be denied the access to IVF and contraceptives. I'm asking you to put it into Tennessee law and help us protect women's right to access IVF and contraceptives.
Chairman Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to applaud Lady Rudder, Chair Lady Rudder, for having the courage to bring this up that makes it possible for women in the state of Tennessee to feel secure. Today, this right is available, but also for the future, that this will be available to them as a technology, which is a great gift of science, great gift from God, that makes it the gift of parenthood available to women who otherwise cannot. There is a concern that the extra fertilized embryos that are created and are disposed about the fate of those entities. Now, it is true that the various courts and the Supreme Court of Alabama last year declared that these embryos were persons and they had all the rights of that. Following that ruling, there was immediate reaction from the public because that would mean that IVF could be literally shut down. The legislature in Alabama came back within 2 to 3 days. And yes, the question whether these are persons who have not yet been implanted in the mother's womb or not remains unclear at this time. But pro-life as we are, as much respect as we have for life and treasure life as a gift from God again, we must protect that. And yes, people who work in the field of IVF feel that moral obligation. They do try to preserve these embryos and avoid the creation of embryos that are extra. Those that are after the pregnancy has happened and for other reasons that they cannot be implanted in the mother can be donated to another person and they can progress to full pregnancy. There are other uses for them too, but the obligation to keep that number of embryos to a minimum does exist. And I think most of the people, all the people working in this field are very aware of it. So IVF can be done with a respectful, godly, and caring way that is pro-life, and it's the wonderful technology, again, that makes it possible for parents who cannot have children and bring them the blessing that we all treasure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Lady Rudder.
Thank you, Representative, for those comments. I renew my motion.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Couple objections were on the board. All those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 72, 26 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. Chair Lady Rudder, would you want to say anything in close?
I appreciate your attention this morning. I appreciate the debate. I appreciate each and every one of you, no matter how you vote on this legislation. I think it's very important for the women of Tennessee, and I ask you for your support.
We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 449 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 54, 37 nays, 8 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 449 having received constitutional majority, I declare passed without objection. The motion for reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1330, relative to the Less is More Act of 2025.
Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1330 on third and final consideration.
Representative Lafferty moves passage. Following second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment allows state boards and agencies to use electronic communications for meetings. It requires public access and recordings and sets rules for in-person meetings and reporting. I move to adopt.
Chairman Crawford moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 2. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 2 filed as House Amendment 3.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 3. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 3 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 4 by Chairman Clemens, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Clemens, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment was meant to deal with the court reporting issue in this piece of legislation, but I understand that issue to have been resolved, so I withdraw this amendment.
Without objection, Amendment Number 4 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill came to me from the administration. Basically, it eliminates some licensure barriers. It will amend some provisions related to board appointments. It will also provide some flexibility for electronic meetings, my apologies, and will clarify that online lottery sales are prohibited. With that, sir, I renew my motion.
Chairman Lafferty renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Love, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I raised this question in committee about online lottery sales. I do have concern about that because I know that we'll be having some of the funds from the lottery going some other place. And as we talk about the benefits of the lottery, what it's done for higher ed, how it's provided scholarships, I have concerns about limiting the opportunity for online sales for lottery tickets. We do provide online opportunities for sports gambling, I believe. Can you speak a bit to why we'd want to have a situation where we are limiting online sales for lottery?
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
So the online sales for lottery tickets never came through the legislature. It didn't come through as a bill. It didn't come through any government operations. It didn't come through in any way for this body to be able to weigh in on doing something that we've never done before. We have always had some restrictions on how lottery tickets are sold. They're cash only for a reason, because what you don't want is someone just draining their entire bank account just because the lottery gets up to a high level and spending their mortgage money, their kids' foods money, everything else on lottery tickets and hope that they might win. Now, the lottery has done some good things with the money that has come in with it, but there is a negative aspect to playing the lottery as well, where sometimes we have some of those that can least afford to play the lottery in this state that do play it at a much higher rate. So the decision to go forward on an online lottery game should have been made by this body.
It should not have been made by just a board of the lottery. It should have at least in some way come through all of you. And so what this is doing is just putting a pause on that so that they can bring a bill, and they've got a vendor, they've already set up the process and everything else, but it's a pretty niche issue right now, which is why there's no fiscal impact to this amendment. And then they can bring a bill, and you all can be the voice of your district as you are on every other issue and decide whether or not we should have an online lottery, just as we decided on online sports wagering. Now, I, for one, voted against the sports wagering bill. There's an awful lot of folks that are spending a ton of money on that, and we're bringing some into the state and trying to use it for good. But there's a lot of folks spending a ton of money on online gaming. The worry would be is that you would take off those natural restraints of cash only that we have on lottery tickets if you went online. But all I'm saying is that's a fight for another time, where they should bring a bill and then let us all debate that.
Representative Lowe.
Thank you, sponsor, for that explanation. I still want to lift up my concerns because I read the other parts of the bill, and it seemed as if everything else dealt with boards, commissions, CPA licensure, and then the lottery. And so I think I know I have concerns about the funding mechanism for the lottery and whether this will diminish. I think the name of the bill is it less with more? I hope that we would not expect the lottery to do more with less with restricting online access. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Speaker.
Let journal reflect Representative Dixie's excuse. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1330 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 21 nays.
House Bill 1330 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1309 by Representative Martin of Carroll relative to the management of utility systems. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1281.
Chairman Martin moves substitute and form Senate Bill 1281, probably second without objection. So ordered. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1281 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Martin moves passage of Senate Bill 1281 on third and final consideration, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Commerce Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to move to adopt this amendment.
Chairman Vaughn moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an administration bill on behalf of the Mega Site Authority of West Tennessee. Current law states that the Mega Site Authority cannot operate a water or wastewater system at a deficit. And what this bill simply does will allow the Mega Site to retain interest accrued as a result of rates collected from operation. And with that, I stand ready for question.
Chairman Martin renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. We are voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1281 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Powell, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, 3 nays.
Senate Bill 1281 having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare it passed without objection. Most reconsidered table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1349 by Chair Lady Littleton relative to psychotropic drugs. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1146.
Chair Lady Littleton moves substitute and form Senate Bill 1146, probably second without objection. So Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1146 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Littleton moves passage of Senate Bill 1146 on third and final consideration, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
No further amendments, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill requires a county medical examiner's office or regional forensic center when conducting an autopsy on a decedent who is suspected to have committed a mass shooting that resulted in the deaths of 4 or more individuals, to consult the decedent's treating mental health professional and the primary care physician, if known, to obtain information regarding the decedent's psychotropic drug use, and requires the county medical examiner to test the decedent for the presence of any drugs, including the psychotropic drugs. It requires the county medical examiner's office or regional forensic center to disclose the use of the decedents to the University of Tennessee Health Science Center College of Pharmacy and the Department of Health, and establish that the county medical examiner shall send only a blood sample to the decedent to the HSC, and requires the HSC to study the drug interactions between the psychotropic drugs and any other drugs that were present in the decedent's system. With that, I renew my motion, Mr. Speaker.
Chair Lady Littleton renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Towns.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Sponsor, let me make sure I understand what we're attempting to do. Certain drugs that people may take, if they meet an untimely demise, we're going to track that to see if there's some kind of impact on the psyche of the person that have taken those drugs. Is that correct?
Chair Lady Littleton.
That's correct.
Representative Towns.
I think it's a great idea. Will we be able, as members, to access that data? So going forth, we may be able to parse out certain types of legislation.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Yes, it requires a quarterly reports. If there's something to report, they report all the data obtained pursuant to the legislation, chief clerks, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So, yes.
Representative Towns.
Thank you. I have a sneaky suspicion, having dealt with and talked with some people that are in the medical profession, that there are some correlations that we have not proven, and they're unfounded. And this may help us get to the bottom line, and which impacts some of this mass killings and shootings that people actually go off on. So I look forward to receiving that data at some point and going back over it so we can hopefully improve the condition of the lives of some of the folk that may be on these drugs.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope that you never get a report, but if we do, that's the purpose and intent of this bill.
Representative Towns.
Very well. Thank you.
Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to explain why I'm going to be voting no on your bill. Members, we have a gun issue. That's the problem. It's not a psychotropic drug issue. It's not, it's guns. And that's the problem. And so trying to divert our attention away from it is taking our eye off the prize. And we need to concentrate on what the real problem is. We also have an issue of causational versus correlational. And if you have people that are committing acts of mass murder, they obviously have some mental issues, and they're very likely going to be taking some drugs to treat that mental issue. That doesn't mean that's the cause. It's correlational. And it's a pretty big difference. And to try and look at one and attribute it to the other, again, takes our eye off the prize. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lady Littleton.
And I respect what you said. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, what you said. But, you know, there are people that take cars and trucks into crowds as well, you know, to do some mass murder. But I think this, to study what is in the brain and in the body, the drugs, will give us a good start of what's going on. And I will say, you know, every prescription you get, there's all kinds of interactions and things that it can do. So sometimes I'm old, I take a lot of prescriptions. And sometimes when I read the interactions and what it can do to my system, then I choose not to take them. So.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, to what degree will the family have, you know, and given permission for this to take place within these autopsies? Would they have, can they deny it? You know, maybe they don't want, you know, their family member to be subject to this type of testing and sending it off to a university and reporting their private information, you know, back to the General Assembly.
Chair Lady Littleton.
It doesn't require the family, and it is for one that is deceased. It's only for the shooter that is deceased.
Leader Kemper.
I understand, but their family still may not want their information, without their permission, granting them, this is us just deciding, on our own that we want to test somebody and send their results somewhere. I just think the family need to have some input or to deny it if they want. I mean, I understand why you would want to use the information, but the family, to me, is being left out of this situation.
Chair Lady Littleton.
They're just not in this, so.
Leader Kemper.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Chair Lady Littleton, can you repeat? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I said that is not mentioned in this legislation.
Leader Kemper.
Oh, thank you. You're talking about the actual shooter, correct?
Chair Lady Littleton.
Murder, yes.
Leader Kemper.
The mass murder, but I'm talking about their family too. And some people's religion could come into play here with respect to these autopsies and, these tests, taking their blood and sending it somewhere. I get your point, but I still think we're overlooking the family, even of the person who have rights in this country. Even that person who did the shooting or the driving the truck into a person, there's still rights, I think, that needs to be protected.
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1146, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 76, 20 nays, one present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1146 having received constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Motion to consider table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to item 2. Item 2, House Bill 1376 by Leader Lambert.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Roll 5 spaces, please.
All right, roll 5 more without objection. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, we're ready for item 7, House Bill 974 by Representative McCalman relative to auctions of motor vehicles.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 974 on third and final consideration.
Representative McCalman moves passage. Public second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Commerce Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to move to adopt.
Chairman Vaughn moves adoption of committee amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what House Bill 974 does, as amended, deals with antique auto auctions, creates an exemption for one particular antique auto auction over one weekend at a single location, specifically the Nashville Superspeedway in Wilson County. The event would be much more than just an auction itself, drawing an estimated attendance of 20,000 people, generating over $1 million in estimated sales tax revenue, and it will be televised nationally. A portion of the proceeds will be donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I stand ready for questions and renew my motion.
Representative McCalman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Raper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry. I moved the previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor, House Bill 974 is amended. Vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Boyd, aye. Lambert, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 97, no nays.
House Bill 974, I'm received constitutional majority. I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 764 by Chairman Williams relative to searches on school property.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize. We're ready for 797 by Chairman Vaughn relative to juveniles. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 0718.
Chairman Vaughn moves substitute and form Senate Bill 718, probably second without objection. So ordered. Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 718 on its third and final consideration.
Chairman Vaughn moves passage of Senate Bill 718 on third and final consideration, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to move to withdraw, sir.
Here we go.
Thank
sounds,
you.
Sounds good. Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 2.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 2, probably second. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 3 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. And sponsor, this is actually a friendly amendment. It simply says this, that if a memorandum of understanding exists between the Department of Correction, the Juvenile Court, and the Mayor's Office in a county with a population of more than 900,000, according to the 2020 federal census or any subsequent federal census, this legislation would not apply. I know the problem that this has sought to address was the Sheriff's Office in Shelby County no longer wanting to transport young adults to the court at 616 Adams. Colleagues, this is no longer a problem. Since April 29th, 2024, the Sheriff's Office has transported 0 people to the courts. 0. Due to asbestos and other things. A memorandum of understanding is being reached with our county government, with the juvenile court, and also with the Department of Correction. So our sheriffs will not have to transport anybody at all, any young people. And so that's why I have this amendment and move for adoption.
Did you actually move consideration? Perfect. Representative Pearson moves consideration. It's a proper motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 3. All those in favor of considering amendment number 3, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Does anybody wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 19, 74 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary 2/3 vote, the motion to consider amendment number 3 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, my young colleague from Shelby County was correct on a number of issues, but what this bill does, and I want to thank my colleagues, particularly on the Judiciary Committee, we stood in and resolved an issue, and what this bill will do will provide a stopgap measure or a end date to where the parties do have to come into agreement, and they're working towards that, and we believe it will be successfully concluded. But yet this bill does put in a date that will wind up with a deadline. And so, Mr. Speaker, with that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Vaughn renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Representative Vaughn, this legislation, as I understand it, is preventing our juvenile court, our mayor's office, and our county Department of Corrections from being able to enter into the memorandum of understanding that would prevent our sheriffs from having to transport youth from the juvenile detention facility, or the U jail, to court. The consequences of that have been rather immense. Now, only about 32 cases are heard at the U jail per week, compared to 110 at Adams. And so when you're saying there's a deadline that has been put in place, are you saying in your legislation there's a deadline for the memorandum of understanding to be reached? And that if that memorandum of understanding is going to be reached, this issue related to the sheriffs, because in watching your testimony, you were saying our officers need to be on the streets, they don't need to be transporting youth, that this legislation would then, in essence, be null and void?
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, that is correct. We reached an agreement between Judge Sugarman and the sheriff. Amendment number 2 puts the deadline in there that they need to reach agreement by October 15th. If they do, then this no longer applies to them.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you to my older colleague from Shelby County.
Chairman Vaughn.
Speaker, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Did he say wiser or older? I'm just seeking clarification.
Representative Pearson.
Happy to provide clarification. Older, but much older. The wisdom I got, I won't go there. But the reality is, while there has been issues between our sheriff's office and there have been issues with our criminal judge in Shelby County, we need to provide an opportunity for young people who are involved in the juvenile justice system to also be adjudicated fairly and quickly. And by ensuring that people who are elected at our local levels are able to do their jobs, are able to reach memorandums of understanding and agreements to solve the problems and not continue to have issues come up here to the State House as though we're able to solve everything, is something that we need to be supporting, not something that we want to detract away from. Thank you, Speaker.
Representative Love. It passed. There was so much commotion prior to that. Representative Harris, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the sponsor, I want to say definitely appreciate you for working with us in the juvenile courts on making sure that amendment got through and added onto this bill. So thank you again.
Representative Towns.
Move previous question, sir.
Chris Wishman calls their objection. There's no objection. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 718 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 78, 15 days, 1 present, not
Senate
vote.
Bill 718 having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare passed by objection. The most read series table. File next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1066 by Chairman Vaughn, relative to vocational services for persons with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, Senate Bill's on the desk.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes, as all of us out there who enjoy baking know, you take a cake out of the oven a little bit prematurely. This was going to be the case with this bill, so I would request this bill be rolled until the first available space on next Thursday's calendar.
Without objection, next Thursday's calendar. Very good. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 612 by Chairman Vaughn, relative to permits.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 612 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Vaughn moves passage. Following second, Ms. Clerk, call the First Amendment.
House Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Todd moves adoption of committee amendment number 1. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I like to think of this being a common sense bill. It seems like something our regulatory community could embrace. Let me give you a little bit of story, the origins of this bill. Town that is in eastern Shelby County, town of Arlington, was extending a road network so they could have better access to one of their fire stations. They crossed a stream with this road. Whenever you're provided stream alterations, you've got to get a permit, which putting the stream in a culvert does. Whenever they had a disturbance area of less than 200 feet, then they would not have had to provide compensatory mitigation. As it was, they had to have 213 feet, and so they were required to buy compensatory mitigation credits for all 213 feet, even though had it been 199 feet, they would have paid nothing. Those 213 feet cost them over $500,000. So in effect, they paid $500,000 for putting 14 feet of stream in a pipe. I don't think that that's the way that things should be done. I think that most folks would think that that credit for the original 199 feet should be granted, even in cases that it exceeds, and that's what this bill seeks to do. And with that, sir, I renew my motion.
Chairman Vaughn renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the sponsor, just for clarification, so what you're saying is that this legislation just would have given them that 199 feet option?
Chairman Vaughn.
No, sir. They had to have the full 213 feet in this case because of the slopes of the road. But what this would have done, they would have only been charged the compensatory mitigation for the amount that exceeded what could have been put under a general permit for free. It says that if you exceed, let's say if you had a 500-foot disturbance, then you would only have to provide mitigation for that exceeds the general permit amount, which would be given without charge. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Representative Shaw.
I think that's what I was asking. I think you answered what I was asking you. It does not change the law. It just simply gives that extra without adding more money to it, costing them extra money is what I'm getting to.
Chairman Vaughn.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is correct, sir. We're on the same page. I misunderstood your question, Representative Shaw.
Representative Shaw, you're good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Mr. Speaker, I'll call previous question.
Previous question being called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 16 of 6, all those in favor of House Bill 612 as amended, vote aye. When the bell rings, those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Has anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 74, 20 nays.
House Bill 612 having received a constitutional majority, everybody declare it passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us back to item 2, House Bill 1376 by Leader Lamberth.
Deputy Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make a motion we roll this to Monday's calendar. Roll to the heel.
Roll to the hill
of Monday's calendar.
of today's calendar. For
I
now.
make a motion we roll this to the heel of today's calendar.
Without objection. So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 764 by Chairman Williams, relative to searches on school property. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move substitute and conform to the Senate bill.
Chairman Williams moves to substitute and form Senate Bill 290, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 290.
Chairman Williams moves passage of Senate Bill 290 on third and final consideration. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment Number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is same as the Senate amendment, so I move to withdraw and defer to the sponsor for the explanation.
Without objection, Committee Amendment Number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 2 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. And this amendment simply includes parental rights. And so if a student is under the age of 18, then the principal must notify the student's parent or legal guardian of the need to conduct a search of the student's property pursuant to this section and receive the consent of the student's parent or legal guardian to conduct the search prior to conducting the search. I know we've talked a lot about parents' rights up here and making sure that those students' rights remain protected, as it says in Tinker v. Des Moines, that a student does not shed their constitutional rights when they enter into the schoolhouse gate, and also making sure that parents are being included in any search of their child's property. While the locker may be the school's, the backpack that the parent bought is theirs. And so making sure that parents get a say in this process is what this amendment would do. And I assume it's something many of you here would support, so that your child's rights aren't being invaded upon at the school and you have no say about it. And so with that, I move for consideration.
Gotcha. Representative Pearson has moved for consideration of amendment number 2. You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment 2. All those in favor of considering amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 69 days.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary 2/3 of the motion to consider amendment number 2 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill emanates from an event that happened in my district where a parent was not properly notified for a search of their child. Parent found out about it at a dinner table the night of. What this bill does, we worked with the Department of Education regarding a training component for those who do searches of children that are school faculty members. They'd have to go through this training to do so, and it doesn't change the statute as it relates to the MOU between an SRO and a law enforcement agency. And this bill does include a reasonable time in which to notify the parents of any search that would be conducted on their child, therefore preserving both the child and the parents' rights. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move adopt or passage.
Chairman Williams renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Sapicki, you're recognized.
Question on the bill.
Question's been called on the bill. Is there objection? There's objection. We're on the board. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 75, 18 days.
Previous question prevailed. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 290, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94 days.
Senate Bill 290, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Let journal reflect Representative Jones and Davidson is excused. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 377 by Deputy Speaker Zachary relative to institutions of higher education. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute conform to Senate Bill 376.
Deputy Speaker Zachary moves to substitute conform to Senate Bill 376. Probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Deputy Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 376 on third and final consideration.
Deputy Speaker Zachary moves passage of Senate Bill 376 on third and final consideration. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is same as the Senate amendment, so I move to withdraw and defer to the sponsor for the explanation.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 2 by Representative Johnson. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment adds legacy admissions, removes legacy admissions from to the list of things in the bill. Legacy admissions is the practice of giving preferential treatment to children of alumni and donors at colleges and universities. Since the 2023 Supreme Court ruling that banned affirmative action at college and universities, many institutions have gone ahead and removed their legacy admission policies as well. Since this bill is supposedly about people being discriminated against in college admissions, let's be honest about who's really being discriminated against. Those who don't have an advantage, which are those admissions because their family did not previously attend the university. This amendment would prohibit this discrimination from happening and allow admissions based on merit rather than who you know. Move for adoption.
Representative Johnson moves adoption of amendment number 2, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I would ask you to vote against this amendment.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does every member wish to change their vote? There was no further discussion. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 23, 72 nays.
Amendment number 2 fails. Call the next amendment, Mr. Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary inquiry was about recognition on the amendment. There was no tabling motion, so the sponsor didn't have a guaranteed right to close. The speaker would have had to have recognized the member for any further comments.
All right, call the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 3 by Representative Pearson, Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. This amendment simply says this section is redundant due to Students for Fair Admissions, Inc. versus President and Fellows of Harvard College, 600 U.S. 181, 2023, which struck down a legal precedent used for over 45 years. We are relitigating, passing more legislation that the Supreme Court has already decided, right? Affirmative action is not being used in admissions. It's already currently unconstitutional. And if somebody thought that they were being negatively impacted, they would be able to sue today. These types of pieces of legislation are continuing to foment a culture war, continuing to foment division unnecessarily. We need to invest our time in better ways on behalf of supporting and helping Tennesseans. So I move for consideration.
You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 3. All those in favor of considering amendment number 3, vote aye when the bell rings. All those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 21, 73 nays.
In accordance with Rule 6B, having failed to receive the necessary 2/3 vote, the motion to consider amendment number 3 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the language you have in front of you is a collaboration between TBRs, UT, Van Diem, TSU, and many others to ensure that university policy aligns with the Supreme Court ruling in June of 2023 related to admissions and scholarships. Is that our new motion?
Deputy Speaker Zachary renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Love, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to the sponsor, I have some concerns about this legislation. You mentioned TBR and other colleges. Are you familiar with the Geyer consent decree?
Deputy Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not.
Representative Love.
So the Geyer consent decree came about when a student took the state to court about duplication of programs. And out of that, Rita Sanders Geyer, out of that came certain provisions that were made to try to increase diversity in populations across the state. And actually, out of that came a provision at Tennessee State for a minority scholarship for non-Black students in a mode to try to increase the number of non-Black students at Tennessee State. Now, the Geyer consent decree was used to try to increase populations of non-Black students at other universities and also faculty. So I'm concerned about this particular bill because of what I'm called a chilling effect, that if we put provisions in here that certain institutions may not offer scholarships because they don't want to be held liable by the state of Tennessee. And so I just really want to bring that point to you and just ask, do you have any concerns about what chilling effect this may have on the offering of scholarships at our institutions across the state?
Deputy Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Leader Love, for the question. So the collaboration of this language was both private and public institutions. And one of the private institutions actually brought that up. And that's why in section 1D, toward the end of that, in that last sentence, it specifically talks about the scholarships and that they cannot be solely based on a student's color, race, ethnicity, or national origin. And so they put that language in there to ensure that future scholarships align with the Supreme Court ruling that came down. And I know I can't speak for any other university other than the University of Tennessee. When that Supreme Court ruling came down, they immediately began to contact donors and make adjustments related to their scholarship funds. And so I think you had referenced Tennessee State. So I assume that institution, along with many others, are continuing to make those adjustments. But again, this language is a collaboration of multiple universities and the TBRs to ensure that it align with that Supreme Court ruling. So what you're referencing, I assume they're already having those conversations with the donors about any adjustments that would be needed to those scholarships.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Representative Keem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do have some comments I'd like to make in regards to this bill. And I'd start with the Declaration of Independence, 1776, part of which says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights." Our Pledge of Allegiance, as we near the end of it, said, "with liberty and justice for all." Our 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law for all individuals, saying that no state can deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. If we look at the abstract summary of this bill, in the first paragraph, this bill does not allow any institution to base its decision on race, color, ethnicity. It will cause a person to be denied and discriminated by the institution. The third paragraph in the summary says that this bill prohibits any institution to make known of any data to admissions concerning race, color, ethnicity of any applicant. And basically what they're saying is making it against the law for anyone to know about this information so that you can't use it in a lawsuit if that became necessary. In the fourth paragraph, this bill makes a private cause of action against an institution, employer, office, or agent that violates this bill. In my opinion, what it's saying is you're guilty until proven innocent. I would also like to say, from a military perspective, veterans come from all walks of life. They come from different regions, different backgrounds, different cultures, but they share a unifying belief in the value of fighting for something greater than themselves in the military. There's a mantra, I believe I'm saying it correctly, same blood, same mud. It means that when soldiers are in crisis, race, gender, or color doesn't matter. What matters is whether you're willing to stand alongside your brothers and sisters to fight for what is right and to fight for each other. The military doesn't just tolerate diversity, it embraces it. Diversity in the ranks strengthens camaraderie and builds a strong fighting spirit unparalleled. Soldiers know that their differences, when united by a common purpose, make them stronger. And it's the same in our schools and universities. Diversity in our student population fosters creativity, broadens perspectives, and prepares students for a world that is diverse as the classroom they learn in. But this bill threatens that strength. It has a chilling effect on open dialogue and exchange of ideas between students and teachers. It seeks to limit the diversity on student population, restricting the very foundation of the educational experience. What is the value of a university education if students aren't exposed to different perspectives, cultures, experiences? How can we truly learn if we can't fully embrace the diversity of ideas and backgrounds that make our world dynamic? This bill sends us in a backward direction, and I would ask we consider not supporting it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the comments, Representative. Members, this legislation simply codifies what was ruled by the Supreme Court to ensure that students are judged in admissions and scholarships by academic achievement, by their merit, by their community engagement, to ensure that merit and accomplishments of that student is the lens in which we see the admission and awarding of scholarships to students. And as Chief Justice Roberts said in his majority opinion in that Supreme Court ruling, he said distinctions between citizens solely because of their ancestry and by that very nature odious to free people whose institutions are founded upon the doctrine of equality. And so, Mr. Speaker, members, I would ask for your support. I renew my motion.
Thank you. Representative Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Question been called. Is there any objection? There's objection. We're on the board for previous question. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Cochran, aye. Williams, aye. Lambert, aye. Hicks, aye. Capley, aye. Bolso, aye. Reeves, aye. Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 22 nays.
Previous question prevailed. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 376 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member vote, does anyone wish to change your vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 22 nays.
Senate Bill 376 having received constitutional majority, I declare passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 540 by Chairman Crawford and others relative to racketeering activity. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 916.
Representative Crawford moves substitute form Senate Bill 916 without objection. So ordered. Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 916 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Crawford moves passage of Senate Bill 916 on third and final consideration. Properly second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Chairman Crawford renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 916, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 80, 10 nays, 2 present, I voted.
Senate Bill 916 having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 437 by Chairman Darby and others relative to the County Sheriff's Civil Service Law of 1974. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Darby, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to SB 0532.
Chairman Darby moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 532 without objection. So ordered. Chairman Darby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of SB 0532 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Darby moves passage of Senate Bill 532 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Darby, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill authorizes Henry County that has adopted the County Sheriff's Civil Service Act of 1974 to rescind such adoption by a 2/3 vote of the county legislative body. I renew my motion.
Chairman Darby renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I asked you this in committee, Mr. Sponsor. This is permissive. Each municipality can do this if they wish or wish not. Is that true?
Chairman Darby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, sir.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 532, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Zachary, aye. Williams, aye. Cochran, aye. Hicks, aye. Lambert, Williams, aye. Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 96, no nays.
Senate Bill 532 have received constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Let the journal reflect. Representative Baum is excused. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 562 by Representative Fritz relative to emergency powers.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 562 on third and final consideration.
Representative Fritz moves passage. Second, Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Amendment 1 by Representative Fritz, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment that you see simply does some clarification to the original intent of the bill, defining a public official to be the executive and changing order to executive order. With that, I would move for adoption.
Representative Fritz moves adoption of amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're on the board. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Lambert, aye. Cochran, aye. Zachary Williams Hicks are aye. Cochran, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 69, 21 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Amendment number 1 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 562 as amended is a piece of legislation that applies some lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. It does a few things. First, it reaffirms that all legal work is honorable and serves a purpose in our communities. It reaffirms that each Tennessean has a right to pursue his or her lawful career of their choosing. It reaffirms the ability to earn a living, and that is one of a basic civil right. It reminds us of Thomas Jefferson's words in the Declaration of Independence, that the role of government is to secure the rights of the citizens. And it establishes a way for Tennesseans to seek a remedy if they are prevented from carrying out the lawful duties of their occupations. The bill, as I described earlier in the amendment, simply puts a definition for the original intent of this bill to prevent those in executive departments in the state, the counties, the cities, or municipalities in the state of Tennessee from declaring a Tennessean non-essential based solely on their occupation. I brought this bill originally because I had folks that were declared non-essential during the pandemic. People that told me things like I was never more afraid that I was going to lose everything that I owned. It caused tremendous hardship. And counter to what you may hear from others, this bill does not prohibit the executive department or executive branches in our county government for controlling emergencies or forest fires or floods. It simply says that we recognize the inherent created value in every human being, and that we will not, in Tennessee, tolerate an executive official declaring us one less than another. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would renew my motion.
Representative Fritz renews this motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Farmer, Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Sponsor, for your comments. I just have 1 or 2 questions. I do understand what you're trying to do, and being a business person, I get that. But I just want to throw out this scenario. If my local mayor were to tell me that it meant life or death to my municipality if I didn't close my doors for some emergency, you're saying I would have a right to say to him, no, I'm going to keep the doors open? Is that what I'm hearing?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for your question. That is not what the bill in and of itself does. The bill prevents that executive person from declaring one of us less than the others. It in no way prevents that mayor or that county executive or even our governor from controlling an emergency by blocking off streets or something along those lines. What the bill clearly does is it prevents that executive from saying, I or you are non-essential as compared to others, and making an arbitrary decision based on the occupation that we feel like God has led us to in our lives and how we contribute to society. And even, I would offer, my friend, that created and designed intent for our lives that God Almighty puts into us that draws us to farming or to ranching or to be a mechanic or a doctor or law enforcement. And I find it a great, and I do appreciate your question. I have much passion about this, so please bear with me, Representative. That we entered into a place because there was a bad thing that had happened in our state and in our nation. But we cannot, we must not, we must never default to a position where that we look at our brothers and sisters and we say to them, you are less than this one. Surely we have learned. Surely we have learned over our history as a state and a nation that we do not declare one another less than the other. Surely we have learned that put your sign down. Surely we have learned that we don't say to people like Rosa Parks, you're less essential than this white person is, and you must therefore get off the bus or go to the back. Surely we have learned that we don't say to 4 young men at a Woolworths counter, we will not serve you because we have arbitrarily decided that you are less than other people. And my friends, my colleagues, people that I love, and I love you, my brother, we cannot allow that to happen in Tennessee. And this bill does provide a recourse if you are damaged by being called less than another, my friend, by being declared non-essential.
Representative Shaw.
I like your comments. Thank you for that. So I'm going to throw out this scenario. Then if my local officials tell me because I'm less or because I'm a man of color, I can't open my doors and everybody else can. You're saying to me that this bill protects me and says, yes, I can. Is that what I'm hearing?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you again for the question. The bill simply says that executive branch cannot declare you non-essential based on your lawful occupation.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. I get that, but I just want to make sure I'm with you on this, that whatever my occupation or whatever it may be, I cannot be declared non-essential and everybody else can do something but me. Is that what I'm hearing in your language? Because you're very passionate about this. I appreciate that, but I just want to understand that.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you again for the question. It simply declares that you cannot be declared non-essential and unable to carry out your lawful occupation based on that lawful occupation that you've chosen, sir. And it provides for a recourse if you're harmed by that action. And I renew my motion.
Speaker Pro Tem Marshall.
Mr. Sponsor, I'd like to ask you a question. If you could give a real life example of what you're talking about, and I want to know if one of my mayors, my county mayor, can be personally liable and personally sued, not as mayor, but as a person, can they be sued themselves?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. So I'll give you a couple specific examples. Over that period of time, and generally, we saw a 40% decrease in small businesses in the state of Tennessee. And typically, according to the Sycamore Institute, those who were affected by these declarations were those who made less than $27,000 a year. So we hit the least of these hard with that. A barber in my town of Kingston, the young man that actually cuts my hair, has used these words to me. He said, I've never been more afraid that I was going to lose everything I had, because his profession, his lawful occupation for which he had a license, was declared, he was a non-essential person. So he was unable to pay the bills. His rent kept coming in. His electric bill kept coming in. His expenses for his business kept mounting, but he was not allowed to cut hair. He was even threatened as of going to jail locally for this. The young lady that happens to be our Ron Lights, our Ron Chamber tourism director, was out when this went through the first committee. Second example I'll give you. And she ran a cosmetology shop at that time. And so she was not only responsible for her own income, but for those many people that worked for her. And she was told that she was non-essential and threatened, again, her words, threatened with arrest if she opened her business. We should never live in a land where the people are afraid of their government. That's the reason those 56 signers, I think, on their sacred honor, stood up against Great Britain. And we headed down a terrible path with that. And to answer your second question, yes, sir. The governor, the county mayor, the city mayor, if they chose to say to you, Representative, or to me, or to one of our colleagues, one of the citizens we represent, that you're non-essential based on what you do for a living, this gives them right of litigation.
Speaker Pro Tem Marshall.
So you're saying that my mayor, if he's acting as a county mayor and does this to one of his citizens, he can personally be sued and he'll have to hire the lawyer, not use the county's lawyer, and he would actually lose money if it's ruled against him?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the clarification. The answer to that would be yes, and I would use your words there. If he does that to a person, I would offer to you, my friend, he should be held accountable. Those folks in the executive departments, whether it be the governor or the city mayor, the county executive, have no right before God Almighty, nor do they have any constitutional right to say to a man that he can't run a landscaping business, to say to a woman that she can't cut hair, and call them non-essential based on just that lawful occupation. Much has been said, especially by some of the folks that testified against this bill, that this would prevent us from controlling floods and fires, and I will offer, in my opinion, ridiculous comments that come from many of those folks. Nothing in this bill prevents those things. And what we would ask our government, our mayor, that good man that you're referring to, from being able to control an emergency, it simply says, you can't declare a Tennessean non-essential and strip them of their rights to earn a living based on the occupation they've chosen. I hope that helps. And I renew my motion.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. In listening to this conversation, and Representative Fritz, I appreciate you bringing this bill, and I know it's well intended, but as the conversation goes along, it seems to deal with civil causes of action. That's something that's typically we hear in the Judiciary Committee. And I checked twice, and this is something that went through state and local. So I respectfully make the motion that this bill be referred to the Judiciary Committee so we can have this discussion.
That's a proper motion, properly seconded. Is there objection? There's objection on the board. All those in favor of the motion to re-refer House Bill 562 to Judicial Full Committee, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 61, 31 nays.
House Bill 562 is referred to Judicial Full Committee. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1085 by Representative Martin relative to school materials. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1112.
Representative Martin moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 1112 without objection. So ordered. Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1112 on third and final consideration.
Representative Martin moves passage of Senate Bill 1112 on third and final consideration. Second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This legislation would prohibit an LEA or public charter school from removing any material in a library solely because it is religious. The bill seeks to reaffirm Tennessee's commitment to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Schools are presently administering policies which review the suitability of materials in their libraries. Materials determined to be unsuitable may be removed, but this would ensure that no religious material would be able to be removed from a public school library. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Martin renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1112, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take Freeman, Halsey, Vaughn, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
Senate Bill 1112 having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 913 with Chairman Vaughn relative to ballot measures. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move to substitute and conform with Senate Bill 525.
Chairman Vaughn moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 525 without objection. So ordered. Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 525 on its third and final consideration.
Chairman Vaughn moves passage of Senate Bill 525 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Amendment 1 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. This amendment just says this act does not abrogate or otherwise affect a judicial order or decision made prior to the effective date of this act. In Memphis elections, we voted overwhelmingly in a referendum and ballots as it related to gun violence prevention. Those were to make sure that people had to store handguns, making sure that we had a red flag law, and banning assault weapons. And Republicans and Democrats in Memphis and Shelby County voted overwhelmingly, 80% and 84% for those referenda that require us to act. They were sued, the Shelby County Election Commission, to prevent those ballot questions from actually being provided to our citizens. And so this is just to ensure that the decision that was made will still be strong and good case law in case anything like that happens again. And so I move for consideration.
You've heard the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 1. All those in favor of considering amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. All those, has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 22, 72 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary 2/3 vote, the motion to consider amendment number 1 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And colleagues, this bill does two things. First, it would require that any amendment to a municipality's charter not be placed on the ballot if the amendment is in violation of the state constitution or state law. And secondly, the bill would also require that any legal challenges to determine that conflict to a proposed charter amendment about whether or not it violates the Constitution or state law must be heard and determined by one of the 3 judge panels. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Vaughn renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? There's objection. We're on the board. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Reeves, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 73, 21 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 525, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Hardaway, no. Reeves, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 73, 22 nays.
Senate Bill 525 having received constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
That brings the body back to the heel of the calendar. Item 2, House Bill 1376 by Leader Lamberth.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1376 on third and final consideration.
Leader Lamberth moves passage by second. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to roll this one to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 2, filed as House Amendment 3.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to also roll this one to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 3, filed as House Amendment 4.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
You know what, Mr. Speaker? The Hill seems to be the place to be, so let's move to roll this one there as well.
You're mighty tall over there. Without objection, so ordered. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 1, filed as House Amendment 5.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 5 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 2, filed as House Amendment 6.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 6 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 3, filed as House Amendment 7.
Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 7 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 8 by Chairman Hicks, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 8 withdrawn. Call up next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 9 by Chairman Williams, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 9 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 10 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you're recognized.
Move to roll to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 11 by Representative Cochran, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please roll to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Call up next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 12 by Chairman Williams, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move adoption.
Chairman Williams moves adoption of amendment number 12. That's a proper second. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Shaw.
I'd like to know what amendment number 12 does. If the
All right.
sponsor could tell us.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment 12 is the work of both Judiciary, Commerce, Finance, and both Chairman Hicks and my floor amendments today. What this bill would do in its current form would allow for the regulation of THC, Delta 8, Delta 9, and 10 products that are currently being sold in the state. It also moves oversight of these products from from Ag to ABC and the Department of Revenue, with the excess funds going to the general fund. 2 years ago, this body passed a bill which allowed businesses to generate these products across our state. And right now, it's not being regulated in a proper fashion. This would allow for the regulation and taxation of those products that are currently being sold in the state while preserving both retailers and wholesalers across the state. It also adds an amendment to that Chairman Hicks had that bifurcated the 10% that was going to ABC and divides it into 5 percentage points to allow for the ABC to properly manage and enforce the statute that's before us. Finally, the amendment that I had that I withdrew that is also in this amendment adds pouches and absorptive materials containing this product to also be able to be regulated, and the minimum usage of those set in statute going forward. That's what this amendment does. I move adoption.
Chairman Williams moves adoption. Representative Shaw.
Thank you for that comment. I got to be honest, it would really take a genius to understand all of it, but thank you so much. And let me ask you this, if I could. Does it reduce the amount of the term of hemp, cost of hemp? Is that what we're asking?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Under Tennessee Code annotated 2 years ago, we allowed for hemp derivatives to be legal in the state. This body passed it 92-3, I believe. And since that time, the industry has grown and deviated in fashion that's different than what this body thought was going to happen. And so these products are all manufactured with a derivative of hemp. And so we're trying to put toothpaste back in the tube, and that's what this bill would do.
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, I'm just curious, because it is complicated. There's been a lot of moving parts to this, and I guess a lot of moving parts to this legislation. And I just want to make sure that what we're doing here is simply we're trying to regulate these products that are already being sold legally here in the state, put some more restrictions on them, and to properly tax them. And that is the 100% of what this bill does.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is an attempt to do what this bill does.
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. Sponsor, will this bill do more to keep the product, the drug, from this plant out of children's hands?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. The component of the bill does require being able to be 21. It also, the same public utilization requirements that are in for smoking laws in the state in regards to how they're consumed in public, that would also apply to this. Of course, the regulation of it, currently you can buy a 24-ounce beverage in this state that has 50 milligrams of THC or hemp-derived product in it, which would be equivalent to several ounces of what would be illegal marijuana. And so this would reduce those down to set limits that would protect the uninitiated consumer who doesn't fully understand these products that we made legal 2 years ago.
Representative Hardaway.
And that uninitiated consumer would mean especially children.
Chairman Williams.
It's illegal for children to consume these products.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank Chairman Williams publicly. There's no other person on this floor that's put in more time or work on this bill than he has. I fully support his amendment. It does exactly what he said it does and combines the work of multiple other committees. And so I just want to thank him for his work on it. It has been a very difficult journey, including this morning. So I just wanted to say publicly, one, I absolutely support the amendment, and two, it has been a very difficult bill to try to put together.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I guess a question to Chairman Williams, or actually two questions to Chairman Williams is, would this amendment add an additional tax to this product?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you for the question. Yes, Representative, this would set a tax rate of 2 cents per milligram for gummies, vape products, and 10 let me make sure I do it right. 10 cents for gummies. Let's see. No, it's 2 cents for gummies, 2 cents for vape bills, 10 cents for beverages, which is based upon the state statute, and it would set a wholesale rate of $50 an ounce for the flour products. Which all of those tax rates are the highest of most states that are currently regulating this, particularly the flours is the highest.
Representative Warner.
Thank you for that, Chairman Williams. Would we be opposed to sending this back to committee? And we've changed a lot in this bill right here on the House floor, and this I'm not sure every member knows exactly what we're voting on here.
Representative Warner, we're actually on the amendment. We're not on the bill. So we haven't voted on the amendment. So to send it back when it hasn't even gone on, the bill's in the current form as is. There's nothing that's changed since it's come through the process unless this amendment stopped it. Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further discussion? Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The notes on the bill says that it removes the 6% sales tax on HDCPS. Can you clarify that?
Chairman Williams.
Yes, currently there's a sales tax and a retail tax on these products in the state. In an effort to take the 2,000 retailers that are currently selling this across the state, in order to help Department of Revenue better manage the taxes associated with this and their underreporting that was with ag, this bill also moves all the taxes to the wholesale rate so that all the wholesale taxes are being collected by the wholesaler so that we don't have to worry from the Department of Revenue about justifying the numbers at the retail rate. There still will be sales tax on these products at the end, but the excise rate has been removed and it'll all be a wholesale tax, similar to what we do for wine and spirits now.
Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 12, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 89, no nays, 3 present, I voted.
Amendment number 12 is adopted. Let the journal reflect Representative Stanton is excused. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us back to House Commerce Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was a fine amendment, but now it's time to withdraw it. I move to withdraw.
Without objection, withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment number 2, filed as House Amendment 3.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
It is that time of day, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment number 3, filed as House Amendment 4.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
As with the two previous, Mr. Speaker, I move to honorably withdraw this amendment.
Without objection, amendment number 4 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 10, with Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As many of you know, I have the privilege of representing several distilleries in my district, Jack Daniels and Naris Green, and they have been great citizens, corporate citizens for our state, and advertise their product all over the world, and they're paying their fair share of taxes in the state and federal level. The federal level of tax on spirits is $13.50 per gallon, and at the state level, it's $4.40 per gallon. This amendment would ensure that there's some parity in the tax structure for hemp beverages and make the wholesale taxes collected on the beverages and only the beverages $4.40 a gallon. With that explanation, I move adoption of Amendment 10.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh moves adoption of amendment number 10. Discussion, Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Speaker Marsh, for this amendment. Just to clarify, when I spoke earlier about the beverage tax being a wholesale tax, what this does is it puts it in line with what we're currently doing as it relates to a barrelage tax, which is a small change. It has very little physical impact. This amendment does, and so I'm very supportive of it. Appreciate Speaker Marsh bringing it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 10, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote. Powell, aye.
Ayes 87, no nays, 4 present, I voted.
Amendment number 10 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 11 by Representative Cochran, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. So what this amendment does, what this amendment addresses is THCA and banning those products that contain an excess of 0.3%. And so just to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of history on it. So THCA is an example of that would be a lot of like the leafy buds that you see when you would go into a shop, right? And so they're difficult for law enforcement to discern between that and marijuana. When smoked, it's highly intoxicating. And so if you were to take a drug test, right, there's no discernible difference between did you just smoke marijuana or THCA. That's what this amendment is about. That's the product it bans. To give just a little bit of history on the bill in its current form. So when the bill that we will be debating in a moment, when it came from judiciary, it had a THCA ban in the bill. When the bill went to Commerce stripped that ban from it. It has been traveling in that form since. The Senate version of the bill has the THCA ban in excess of 0.3%. So essentially, this amendment would allow us to match the Senate regarding the THCA ban in excess of 0.3%. And so obviously I'm at the will of the body, but here's an opportunity that we can have our bill match at this point. We could work it out in conference as well, but this is an opportunity to put this ban in. We can match the Senate in that posture. I'm at the will of the body, and with that, I move adoption.
Representative Cochran moves adoption of amendment number 11. It's proper motion, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not rising to try to table the amendment. I think this is a conversation we all ought to have and have a chance to express our ideas on it. One of the things and my good friend, the leader, is correct, but I've heard a lot about procedure today, and we had an opportunity in both finance as well as gov ops to bring amendments to change this, and it was not done. This bill's been traveling in this way, and I know that we talk a lot about our committee system and upholding how it works, but that's one of the things I'd like to note. But what the bill does, this bill does a lot of great things. It does things that are needed in this space. We need this industry regulated more so. It has been the Wild West up until now. Nobody disputes that fact. But we are the body that 2 years ago that created this. Let's understand that if we think we've created a monster, then we're Dr. Frankenstein. We need to have responsibility for that. And based upon those decisions that we made, people made investments. People have invested based upon our word, based upon our intentions, and how we're going to regulate how this industry is going to be treated. And so what I'm simply proposing to the body is this bill has very strong regulatory components. I personally believe that the Alcoholic Beverage Commission is the entity to regulate this, but some of you who are not in commerce may not also know that there's another bill traveling. It's behind the budget right now, but we voted to allow locals to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the ABC to help them enforce in our communities the standards that we want, that is not in conflict with state law. So this is about to become from the Wild West into, it's going to have all of Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and the whole gang looking in on it, making sure that people are doing the right things, that this product is going to be controlled properly. One of the things that I would propose to this body is to vote no on this amendment, and let's watch our new regulatory system work. And if it's not functioning correctly, then we'll need to make more adjustments. But I have a hard time with people that this body has told this is a new commercial venture in our state, and then 2 years later, we're going to turn the lights off. And finally, understand that even if we take this component out that this amendment considers, these stores will still be in the business of selling intoxicants. If your issue is with the fact that we don't think that this should be another intoxicant sold on the market, then this is not accepting of this amendment is not going to do that. It will diminish it some, truly, but it's not going, if it's a principal vote that you're going to cast on that, then you're not going to be cleaning this industry up enough that they're not still going to be in that business. So anyway, to conclude, and believe me, this has been the legislative process in action, and sometimes it's messy, and sometimes it's not as clean and efficient as we want. But there have been a lot of time spent on this by a lot of people. And I just ask for you to consider the fact that we made a commitment to people, and we're going to change it if we accept this amendment, even after we provide really, really serious regulation that this industry has never seen. And so that's my piece, and I'm not going to support the amendment, but I do support the bill, whether this amendment goes on or not. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Cochran.
Thank you, members, and I certainly appreciate the chairman as well, and appreciate working with him throughout the process. And I just wanted to reiterate one point that he made. I think it is very critical that we institute regulation on this industry, because as he mentioned, right now it is somewhat the Wild West. Now, full disclosure, I am in favor of the ban on on THCA. I don't think that's a good substance for us to have out there. But in addition to that is just obviously for this very important regulatory structure to go into place, it will require that back and forth between this body and the one down the hall. And I think one of the large hurdles there is ensuring that we match on that THCA ban. They currently have that in place. This gives us the opportunity to match that on this side of the debate. And just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would encourage you to vote for this amendment. I think Colorado serves as an excellent example of what happens when we legalize cannabis and THCA. I hear lots of talk about the tax revenue that we will generate, and I think Colorado shows us very well what a poor decision it is to do this. For every dollar that Colorado generates with marijuana sales tax revenue, it costs them $4.50 to regulate it and deal with the emergency services. That does not take into account the children's services and the human services. And just a few statistics. When they legalized marijuana in Colorado, traffic accidents in a 3-year period nearly doubled. Poisonings in children tripled. And I heard my colleague from Memphis ask about children. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, 74% of 17-year-olds have tried an illegal substance by the time they're 17. And what's more alarming is 10.2% of substance abuse begins at age 11. That's a 5th grade student in most cases. Folks, this is a public health crisis. Members, I would encourage you, for the sake of our children, to vote for this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I wanted to clarify a few things. The first page of the Assistant Leader's Amendment, page 1, it lists 4 things that are in this that are allowed as it's taken out THCA. And what you need to know that all 4, if you have a drug test, if you take any of these 4 that are legal, and according to his amendment, you're still going to test positive for having THC in your system. That's the first thing you need to know. We're not doing anything to stop you from showing that you've got THC in your system. Secondly, what you need to know is all 4 of those are intoxicants. But the most important thing that I think you need to know what this amendment does, and I think it's probably the most egregious thing of this amendment, no offense to my dear friend, the Assistant Majority Leader, but guys, we're taking in this amendment the natural substance of this plant and saying, you know what, we're going to make the natural substance illegal, but we're going to make it to where the synthetics are legal. Now they're going to say, well, Jeremy, it's a synthetic, but it's derived from the cannabis plant, so it's not really a synthetic. So just bear with me for a minute to understand when I say synthetic, what I mean. What I mean, when you look at Delta 8 or HHC, what they've done is they've changed the entire molecular structure of the natural plant. Changed the molecular structure by adding acid and solvents to this green leafy substance, that the flower substance that you just heard about, and heating it. That's called a synthetic when you change the entire molecular structure of a plant and add acid and other solvents to it. So what we're doing is we're keeping that legal in Tennessee, the synthetic, and we're making it illegal, the natural stuff. Now you heard the sponsor of the amendment say, you know, he didn't like the flower, and then you go into a weed shop and you see the green leafy substance. Well, don't be misled that you're voting on something that's going to get rid of the flower or the green leafy substance. If that's what y'all want to do and get rid of it, then file an amendment to get rid of the flower and the green leafy substance. But what this amendment does is keep that as long as it's been perverted and adulterated, and denying the stuff that's just natural, that doesn't have acid and other solvents in it. So I would encourage y'all to embrace what we did early in committee, and also realize that we're not stopping intoxicants. We're just putting intoxicants we're only keeping intoxicants that are not natural. You're not voting on a bill to do away with people being able to get high. You're voting on a bill to do away with people getting high naturally. You're making it where they can get high through chemicals now. It's already legal in Tennessee. You're not making it illegal except for one thing. So I would encourage you to vote against this amendment and allow the people who use this to use the natural substance, not an adulterated substance.
Representative Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been very invested in this bill since its inception, because 6 years ago I carried the bill that allowed us to grow hemp in this state and have many of these products. But I will tell you, at that time, the Growers Association, well, I will say there were folks that deceived me and deceived our leader and many others in this body by making sure we set this at 0.3 Delta 9 THC, which we did. That mirrored the Federal Farm Act. They did not want total THC. This amendment brings in total THC, and I will remind you, or will state, that is the new federal standard. Total THC, less than 0.3%. That's the standard. These businesses you've heard talked about today have gambled on a product that is federally illegal. These products aren't grown in our state. They're shipping this in from who knows where. And our department, they're taking a gamble that our Department of Agriculture will not get to them. And they don't have the manpower to police this, quite frankly. We've not provided them with that. But the ABC does. And that's what the entire bill, once it's amended, will do. And they will be able to go in and make sure these products meet this requirement that's in this bill, and will only sell legal products to our citizens. So I ask you to vote for this. This is getting us to where the federal regulations are today, where someone in this state can enforce those, and that is very critical to this whole process. I'm all for products that are helping people across this state, the salves, the oils, the ointments, all of those things. I've personally benefited from those. I know many people have. And we're not here to hurt those. We're here to help those farmers. I've got them in my district that are growing this material for legal purposes. They're not doing anything of what's been discussed on this floor that will harm people. And those are the folks I want to protect. And I know each one of you wants to protect those legitimate businesses, those legitimate growers that are producing products that we need and our citizens need. So I implore you to vote for this amendment and for the bill as amended. Thank you.
Moving right along. Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor. The amendment before us is one that I I just want to be abundantly clear. I am not for marijuana in any way. I am for the idea of being able to police this. Chairman Faison was correct. I have an employee who failed a drug test because he was eating gummies. So at the outset, any consumer of these is going to fail a drug test in the state of Tennessee, regardless what it is, if it's for employment. As it relates to this bill, the big challenge that I have with THCA, and I'm not a fan of marijuana or its products. I'm a fan of the small businesses and wholesalers that exist across the state right now. In the original fiscal note of this bill that came out of finance, it generates a lot of revenue, which is great for the state. But that revenue was generated so that we could police through the ABC what was going on here. My fear is that with this amendment, and I told the sponsor of this amendment, I'm happy whether it goes on or it doesn't go on. The challenge for me is if the amendment does go on, I don't really understand the length, width, and breadth of the fiscal impact that might happen from the taxation or the utilization of this going away, and how that might impact ABC's ability to be able to enforce what's remaining of the statute. The 26, the argument is depending upon the policing of the statute, it may take as much as $20 million in order to enforce this by moving it from ag to ABC. And if that's the case, and we strip out all the revenue because this amendment, because we really don't know what the impact is, we think the impact might be minimal, but if it were, we simply don't know based upon the facts that I have today. And so I do believe Leader Cochran's views are good on that. I'm not going to be supporting the amendment until I get some more information as to whether or not there is a fiscal impact that would impugn the current work of all the committees in the committee process. And so I would hope as we look at this, the good news is because in any time we're at a different posture than the Senate, we can use the message calendar as an opportunity to perfect whichever one is better or the other. And it's our role as members of the House to provide this body something on an up-down vote that best meets the needs of our constituents and right that ship as it relates to what's going on with the Senate. Once again, I appreciate the leader. I do want to take a moment to apologize to Matt Monday and Boyan Savage, who's over here, and take my time to say that. Those two gentlemen have decimated themselves working on this to try to make it the best they could for the state. And Boyan woke up this morning thinking he had everything settled, and we ruined his day already. And so Boyan is a phenomenal mathematician and has a huge heart for our state and wants to make sure he does the right thing. And then Matt Monday, bless his heart, he's written 531 amendments for this bill, and he does a great job. And he thankfully still answers my phone when I call. But anyways, I appreciate them and the work that they do. And sometimes it gets heated, and Boyan likes to talk and call me names all the time, but I love him still. And so, Leader, I appreciate your work there, and Matt and Boyan. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to support this amendment because I don't know what the fiscal impact might be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly appreciate Chairman Williams as well. And wanted to address one point there regarding the fiscal note and regarding the potential fiscal impact. You know, hate to continue invoking the chamber down the hall, but the current version does have that ban on products in excess of 0.3%. And based on the scoring of the bill and its posture over there, it does not appear to have any fiscal impact. But just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Chairman Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the leader was right in his introduction, which he usually is, that this is a complex piece of legislation, and there are many confusing parts to it. Our citizens and constituents are definitely confused about it, and some of us in the legislature are too. And the confusion comes from the honorable member from Madison County, as he mentioned, that we were told it is just hemp. That's all. Well, it was not. There was THC or marijuana in it. Then we were told it's only 0.3. Well, no, it was very simple that by heating it, it becomes regular THC. With that confusion, it is difficult for us to believe. And now we are told this is a hemp bill and that's all it is. But guess what? We are putting THCA in it. And that acid, THC acid, is all we have to, all the consumer has to do is heat it and they get THC, just like regular good old marijuana. These are confusing parts to it, and it makes it difficult for us to explain it to our constituents what we are doing and why we did that. 1 week from today, there is a recovery court graduation in Robertson County. 8 candidates will graduate. They have committed criminal offenses, and the trade-off was that you don't have to do time if you commit yourself to staying clean for a particular period of time. They are closely monitored. It's about a year plus. It is touching every time I go to these graduations to see how lives that were torn apart by marijuana are being repaired and restored, and their families are there. They finally have gone back home, so to speak, to their families. Effects of marijuana on these families and these lives are very, very remarkable. And I think we have seen it again and again, yet we get carried away by the commercial advantages of it, the money, the sales taxes we can get. And as my honorable seatmate mentioned, for each dollar obtained in taxes, the cost to the state is $4.50. There are other estimates that go up to $6. And again, that money is spent on social services, addiction treatment, as well as law enforcement. Marijuana is playing havoc on our society. We talk about anxiety, we talk about mental health, we talk about schizophrenia and various psychological maladies. Yes, we blame the internet for it. But my friends, I submit to you that marijuana and its prevalent use is playing a role in this malady that is affecting our society. For that reason, I applaud Leader Cochran's amendment for trying to keep THCA, which is marijuana. All you have to do is light it up to keep it out of this bill. Thank you for listening, my friends. Thank you.
Representative Lim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this amendment because I think it really supports what Leader Lamberth initially intended and what Leader Lamberth initially filed. That was his intent. So thank you, sponsor, for filing this amendment. I think it is good and I will support it.
All right, that was everybody on the list. Any further discussion? Any objection to the question? I don't see any. All right, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 11, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 56, 38 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Amendment number 11 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and colleagues, thank you for that discussion. I too, and Chairman Williams said this a moment ago, he apologized to Matt and Boy, and I do as well, but I also will apologize to several of y'all. I get married to this type of issue. I've long been against marijuana legalization in this state. There's no secret to that. I've seen exactly what Dr. Kumar said earlier, the way people get addicted to it, the way they get intoxicated on it, and I've seen the negative consequences. I have had young people that I have spoken with, and I had a client years ago that said literally when it came to THC products, because it's all cannabis, I mean, whether you call it marijuana, which we've made a legal distinction of THC Delta 9 or above that, or if you call it, THC Delta 8 or THCA or any of it, it's all comes from cannabis. And a good amount of it will get people high. We had one of our staff members go down and buy a drink at a corner store that had 50 milligrams of THC in it. You drank a can of that, it even says it on the side, you're out for the night. And there are folks that even wind up going to the hospital with overdoses of this stuff, and nobody's died from it yet. But the way it's going, if we don't regulate it, then it is absolutely getting out of hand. And what my friend Chairman Todd said is right on the money. We were all told when we voted for him that, well, it's the non-intoxicating cousin to marijuana. You don't have to worry about anybody getting high. Well, all that horse has left the barn. There are lots of products out there, just like Chairman Williams said, and Chairman Faison as well, that will get people high. At least what this bill does is ban THCA, that when you light it, it turns into marijuana, but that's one product. There's hundreds of other products out there, and at the very least, it won't be in a convenience store or a grocery store. It'll be sold in a liquor store or a hemp shop and recognized as highly intoxicating substances. And then it will be taxed through the wholesale level, just like we do the rest of the intoxicating substances that are out there. I wish we could go back in time and not have all these substances out there, but that's not an option at this point. And so this has been a struggle for me. It's been a long journey. You've heard multiple chairmen get up and talk about this. It came through criminal justice sub, judiciary. It came through commerce, GovOps, finance sub, finance full, and calendar rules. It's been a long journey to the floor. And to any of y'all today, I got a couple of texts saying, hey man, you mad at me because I was glaring earlier and all upset because we were trying to figure out fiscal impacts and numbers and 12 different amendments. And I will admit, even me, I juggle a lot of stuff a lot of times, but I got kind of irritated today. But it's not at any one individual. It's just, it's a very intricate and frustrating issue to deal with. And that's what this floor is for. So I would ask that y'all support this bill. It does regulate these intoxicating substances properly. I obviously am glad the amendment went on. My hope is, and what I will be battling for, is that if we pass this bill in its form right now on the floor, I am going to do everything within my ability to make sure the Senate passes exactly what we pass on this floor, because that is what should occur. But again, my apologies if I've gotten a little fired up about this one sometimes. It's just a bill. It's an idea written down on paper, but it's extremely intoxicating substances. And what we do with these products can change lives for the better or worse significantly. And so I appreciate y'all's patience with me on this one. And I stand ready for questions. With that, I renew my motion.
Leader Lambert renews his motion. Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand here a little shocked. I completely agree with everything in this legislation. We need to regulate this. We need to tax this. We need to make sure we're not selling this to minors. We need to make sure of all these things. However, I cannot believe that this body just stuck it to every farmer, every wholesaler, and every small business in the state of Tennessee that has invested in this product. We keep pulling the rug out from under these folks, and it's going to come back to bite us. And you just did that by adopting that amendment. You took something good and you just couldn't stop. It was said that if you vote for that amendment, that you're taking marijuana, you're keeping marijuana out of Tennessee, or you're keeping marijuana out of the stores. You're not. All you're doing is keeping the natural product out of Tennessee. All the other synthetics is the same thing. You're not keeping anything out of Tennessee. You're not keeping anything out of the stores. You're just keeping the flower, the most natural product, the cleanest product. We've been debating vaping and all this other stuff all year because of the chemicals and all the harm that causes. You just completely limited the state of Tennessee to synthetics. And in doing so, you killed the flower. It makes no sense. You just stuck it, 56 of you just stuck it to every farmer and small business that has invested in this business. I do not understand that. I hope they hold us accountable for that. I hope they hold you accountable for that. Again, I cannot believe, like I said, Mr. Leader, I agree with all the regulatory provisions bill. I agree with protecting everything in here, but removing the flower The only natural part of this bill is just insane. I cannot believe this body just fell victim to that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, THCA, when heated at 300 degrees, just a little bit over that, in other words, lit with a lighter, is marijuana. You heard Dr. Kumar say that. I mean, that is pretty much understood within the community. That's why it's a popular product. It is one of many products that are out there, but it does make it very, very difficult for law enforcement when they have a product that looks, smells, acts, and intoxicates just like marijuana. And there are bills that come every year to legalize marijuana, and they have not been successful in this state at this juncture. And so I think the majority has merely said that we're not ready for that particular product on the market, but the regulatory scheme here permits the rest of these products to be there within certain boundaries and regulated properly. So I do hope you will vote for the eventual bill. I understand your frustration at the one product, but it is one product out of thousands that are sold. And one of the kind of, I think, hidden gems that's in this is that all of these products will have to be brand registered. Tennesseans will know what they're getting after this. Before, and it was mentioned by someone else, these products come in from all over the world instead of coming in through a choke point where they can be registered and inspected, and that Tennesseans will know what they're getting. If you buy a Sprite, you should get a Sprite. If you buy a beer, you should get a beer. If you buy a bottle of tequila, you should get a bottle of tequila. You shouldn't buy Sprite to get tequila or buy tequila and get Sprite. I'm not advocating for any one of those particular products, but you should know what you're getting. After this bill passes, if it passes, and I hope it does, Tennesseans will know exactly what they are purchasing. That's a worthy thing.
Chairman Clemens.
We didn't keep anything out of the state of Tennessee. You just kept the natural form out of the state of Tennessee and allowed in the bastardized version of it. That's all you did. I cannot believe, again, that we are preferring synthetics over the natural flower. I fail to comprehend how this body, mostly rural in nature, just stuck it to every farmer in the state of Tennessee that has invested in this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Davis.
I just wanted to thank the sponsor for this piece of legislation. It's very important. A lot of people forget that there is a thing called cannabis-induced psychosis. And so the potency of some of these products under that regulation will help so much. So thank you, sponsor. And if anybody has ever had a loved one or family members that have gone through drug court, this will help to reduce those incidences as well. So thank you very much, sponsor.
All right. Any other discussion? Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, I know we had some discussions about this in committee about licensing and opportunities for folks to participate. And I had some concerns from constituents about the $750,000 is the bond amount that's required. Could you explain some of that to us and the benefits of it, or how it will help out?
Leader Lambert.
Yeah, so that's for a wholesaler. And what that is, it's a fiscal capacity. It's very similar to what we do for liquor wholesalers or others that are wholesalers of certain products, is you have to have a line of credit. It could be a HELOC, it could be a bond, it could be any number of things that just to show that you're a business that's on solid footing. So as long as you have that fiscal capacity, you can enter into. And when you're talking about a wholesaler specifically in this, those are folks that are moving a large amount of product, and they need to have good fiscal stability to do that because of the type of product that we're working with. You don't want a business that's just barely able to operate because they may more tempted to wander into illegal products. And so that's just there as a base, but it doesn't have to be cash on hand. It can literally be a bond or a line of credit that's open or anything like that.
Representative Love.
Thank you. And just so we're clear, that is only for the wholesaler. So a retailer does not have to have that huge amount of bond to operate their retail or operation. Is that correct?
Leader Lambert.
Yes, I believe so. I was looking for the page in there, but it was for wholesalers.
Representative Love.
Sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question be called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1376 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 69, 21 nays, 3 present, not voting.
House Bill 1376 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The motion for consider table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the regular calendar.
Next calendar, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a message calendar. Item 1, House Bill 1133 by Chairman Boyd relative to taxes. Mr. Speaker, on April 3rd, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 1133 for Senate Bill 885, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 885 as amended.
Chairman Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to non-concur in Senate Amendment number 1.
Without objection, we non-concur. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the message calendar.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Unfinished business.
Representative Powell, you're recognized. Representative Powell. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to suspend the rules for the immediate introduction of SJR 433, please.
Mr. Clerk, read the caption.
Senate Joint Resolution 433, resolution to commend Jordan Ritchie for exemplary service as a legislative intern.
You heard the caption. Any objections? Without objections, the rules are suspended. Representative Powell.
Thank you. I move to concur in SJR 433.
Representative Powell moves to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 433. Party seconded. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I declare concurred in without objection. Most for consider table. Mr. Clerk, we can go ahead and do yours if you want.
Mr. Speaker, we have a message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I'm directed to return to the House Bill 760, substituted for the Senate bill on the same subject, amended and passed by the Senate.
Monday's message calendar. Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After consulting with the minority leader, I move that House Bill 456 be heard in the Government Operations Committee next week.
For the motion, any objections? Do I object? So ordered. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bills 160, 620, 333, 436, 915, 393, 783, 773, 1,358, 627, 636, 977, 381, 152, and 842 be heard in the Finance Subcommittee next week.
For the motion, any objection? Without objection, so ordered. Next. Mr. Clerk. Leader Lamberth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year. Spread on your desk, and I think on the dashboard as well. If you're old school like me, there's a piece of paper I think you can print off that has this. I highly recommend it. I heard that boo, Chris Todd. It has the flow motion. So the flow motion is the ability for us to be able to move from one committee to the next committee without having to wait a week. There's a couple other rules that are suspended in there. That's the biggest part of it, is that you can move more rapidly. We do anticipate potentially that the budget would be on the floor next week. And so to move from finance sub to full calendar and rules, it is necessary to pass the flow motion. We are not doing so today. I do not have a motion to do so. This is for you to evaluate, again, either in good old-fashioned paper format or on your dashboard. And so please take a look at it over the weekend. I do anticipate, I'm looking at the speaker, making a motion on Monday for adoption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Clemens, did you have something you want to say? Fair enough. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Scheduling and procedural announcements.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the schedule for next week, Monday, 9 a.m., Finance Sub, Room 1. Finance Full, Room 1, immediately following Finance Sub, session at the normal time, 2 o'clock. Tuesday, Finance Sub, 9 a.m., Room 1. Finance immediately following Finance Sub. Calendar rules immediately following Finance. Session at noon. Wednesday, Private Acts, 8 a.m., Room 1. State and Local, 8:30, Room 1. Immediately following Private Acts will be State and Local. Government Operations at 9 in Room 1. Session at 10:30. And then Finance Sub and Finance would meet again that afternoon. And as a reminder, since some committees are meeting on Monday that don't normally meet on Monday, the amendment filing deadline for committees that meet on Monday is the end, close of business Friday.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Please take the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, 92 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
That completes the regular order, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until 2 p.m. on Monday, April 14th, 2025.
Without objection, the House stands recessed till 2 p.m. on Monday, April 14th, 2025.